Historical Education, 1920 to 1945. This is the time where progressivism is introduced in education. Progressivism is a philosophical orientation based on the belief that life is evolving in a positive direction, that people may be trusted to act in their own best interest, and that education should focus on children's interests and practical needs. Progressivism is focused on improving the quality of lives in America and focused on social reform. In 1919, the Progressive Education Association is formed, and this association is focused on implementing progressive theories in the classroom. Progressives opposed autocratic teaching methods, for example, textbooks, rote memorization, and teachers were considered guides. Teachers focused on teaching topics their students were interested in. Teachers must also be well educated in order to teach this way. And teachers must have a great understanding of children. This is John Dewey. He graduated from the University of Vermont and Johns Hopkins University. Dewey's writings have had a huge impact on U.S. schools. He believed that teachers must understand the child as a whole. He even opened a school that focused on learning traditional subjects collaboratively. His school had two purposes: to exhibit, test, verify, and criticize theoretical statements and principles, and to add the sum of facts and principles in its special line with question marks rather than fixed rules. John Dewey opened a school with his wife Alice called the John Dewey Laboratory School. This school was child-centered. This is Maria Montessori. She created the Montessori method of education. Montessori is a method of education that is based on self-directed activity, hands-on learning, and collaborative play. Teachers use prescribed sets of materials and physical exercises to develop students' knowledge and skills, and students are allowed to use or not use the materials as they see fit. Materials can include the student's interests. Each student has individualized instruction. This helps develop self-confidence and self-discipline. Montessori even opened up a school for preschool children who come from lower-class families. World War II. This is the time when progressivism education fades. Schools' deficiencies were blamed on the progressive approaches. Progressivism was seen as soft and lacking structure. This is also when the Progressive Education Association ended. However, progressivism has had a huge impact on current practices in schools, for many schools are based on the progressive era. World War II is also when the GI Bill of Rights is introduced. This allows veterans to receive certain benefits when it comes to education. Veterans were able to receive free tuition and room and board at college. 75,000 U.S. schools in the 1930s were one room due to lack of funding. Poor schools in rural areas closed due to the Great Depression. Children who lived in the suburbs had more books, better buildings, and teachers who were higher paid and better trained. Diversity increased in schools in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Latin Americans, Eastern Europeans, African Americans, Southern Europeans, Irish, German, and Native Americans were allowed to attend school. However, these ethnic groups were excluded and had to establish their own schools. And some schools wouldn't allow other languages than English, and the students would mock those who used another language. Students who used their native language could potentially be punished. In 1928, there was a reform of U.S. schools. Native culture and languages began to be accepted in schools. Mary McLeod was a speaker for the rights of African American youth education. She made it possible for 150,000 African American young people to attend high school. Male versus female teachers. Women teachers began to get better pay during the 1930s. However, most women were not in administration. That was mainly for men. However, there were a few female superintendents. All of these events have helped shape education into what it is now. Without these people and these new laws, we wouldn't have the education system we have today in the U.S.